Hello one and all, it's your My Hero Academia, Chapter 284, Deep Blue Battle. And we open up with Deku basically putting everyone back on the ground. Like, he's explaining, like, oh, he can't control enough to lift everyone up, but he basically just raised everyone to the air just to put them back down. It's kind of weird, honestly. It's kind of weird. I feel like in the anime, without the chapter break, that's going to seem very strange. Like, up in the air, okay, now back up down the ground, exactly where you were before. What was actually the point of that? I mean, I get Shigaraki, you know, he's the big bad, he's a villain, he's the one you're trying to stop, but the rest of them didn't really need to lift them up, did you? And now Bakugo's all mad because Deku's trying to face Shigaraki all by himself, the whole, you know, not caring about his own life, just trying to protect other people kind of thing that he's always done, which we get into more detail in the flashback, but it definitely has me concerned about what's going to happen next with Bakugo. Anyway, then we have the flashback, and Uraraka looks so freaking cute with her new haircut. Oh my god, she's adorable. I love it. Very rare for manga to actually change a character's hairstyle, but I'm glad they did it with her, and they also did it with Deku for the entirety of this flashback. For some reason, the author decided it'd be best if his head was broccoli for this whole flashback. Kind of takes out a lot of the seriousness of it, but I can't lie, he does look kind of good, and I just love that when they explain to Uraraka that they are playing Catch a Kachan. She explained, but why do explosions come into play? Once a jerk, always a jerk, huh, Bakugo? And that just so reminds me of their battle, Uraraka versus Bakugo. That still probably remains my favorite fight in this entire series, and I so badly want a rematch between them. I'm not under any delusion that Uraraka could win now, but, you know, she's grown way stronger. I'd love to see how far she's come, how she'll do in a rematch against him. I think she actually would be able to, you know, get a hold of him, touch him, send him to the air this time, but he would find a way to undo it, use flames to push her out of the ring before he ends up flying out of the ring somehow, some way. Still, it'd be such a great chance to see how far she's come from the frail little girl back in the first battle, though. As Bakugo said right after the fight, what part about her was frail? Oh, still my favorite lines. Anyway, I really want a rematch between those two. And they're using these three as a chance to teach Deku how to make better use of his quirks, including the one he hasn't quite unlocked yet. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw him floating here, I'm like, oh, he already unlocked the float before all this. So he could use it at any point in this battle, and he just didn't until now. Okay, so does that mean he can unlock another one after this? I was very confused. Instead, just Uraraka using her zero gravity on him, not him using the float while she's using the zero gravity. That confused me a little bit. Oh, God. All Might. Professor Uraraka, you're here to teach him about body control while breaking in midair. He called the professor. Oh my god. That's just so freaking adorable. I love it. I mean, they're basically explaining, yeah, it's not like we think Deku's gonna learn how to fly anytime soon, but, you know, he's just gonna hang in the air a lot, so it's probably best he learns how to control it a little more. Which, alright, that lie works well enough. Also, very interesting, they say that Aizawa is busy at the moment when they flash over to Kurogiri. I mean, it's been 6 months. Have they made any more progress with him? Have they managed to get any more of his humanity out of him? It could definitely be very helpful, you know, if they get him on their side right here, right now. He wakes up enough to teleport over to Deku and the rest of them and teleport them to America, to Russia, to Europe, to Hawaii. Somewhere safe and far enough away from the villains that have godlike powers who are about to wipe out all of Japan. You know, just long enough for them to level up so they can come back for the big second fight. And then we get a very interesting conversation between All Might and Bakugo, and before that, I really just have to comment that Bakugo is drinking a sports drink, a water bottle, that's promoted by Gang Orca. This world is so weird. This is so weird. They have heroes endorsing water bottles, sports drinks, everything. It's just so utterly bizarre how it's such a natural thing in this world. And, you know, Bakugo has to talk about how, you know, sooner or later people are going to realize it's not normal that Deku keeps getting new quirks and abilities. Sooner or later you're going to have to actually explain to people that what Deku is, what your power is, or give some sort of explanation that is good enough for them to believe. I mean, I feel like at this point Deku could at least tell his fellow classmates what's going on. I doubt any of them are going to, you know, want the power of One for all that badly after they've seen him use it to basically destroy his limbs over and over again for the last few months. Plus, I don't think any of them would actually, you know, want to take it from him unless UA Trader is still up in the air, whoever that might be. My money's still in the principal, but we'll see about that. And then we got something very interesting said. The fourth successor, in the notebook about him, you crossed something out. You figured something out. All Might, what did you find out about the fourth successor? And that's a very good question, because He's the fourth successor. He's the one with the 2 scars across his eyes, and he's the one that ended up giving One for All to Funky Black Whip, whatever his name actually is. And that's all we really know about him. So what about him is different? That makes him, someone that's All Might is worried about. All Might needs to not reveal something about him. I mean, some people online were speculating, oh, it's Deku's father, which I don't know if the timeline really works for that, but maybe. I mean, my personal theory is that his quirk involves some sort of self-sacrifice. Like, if he uses his powers, he'll die, or it will use up some of his lifespan, or something like that. And All Might's worried that if Deku learns about that, he'll use the power himself and, almost kill himself in order to stop Shigaraki, All For One, or any villain who's threatening a kid with a candy bar, because that's just who he is. It also can't be ignored the second and third users are still a complete mystery. We know absolutely nothing about them, but the third user had to give the power to the fourth user. Could that be what's important? Could that be what All Might didn't want to write down because there's something about the third user that he's afraid of Deku finding out? I mean, there is a theory I've seen before that I'm actually fairly interested in that basically says that the second or third user is Bakugo. That somehow, some way before the end of the series, he's going to get sent back in time to the era of All For One and meet the first user, the second user, and somehow end up getting the power passed on to him, and then eventually pass it on to the next person. Which would probably mean that Bakugo's going to die in the past, which is very, very sad. But on the other hand, that would also mean that Deku gets Bakugo's quirk. The quirk he's always admired, the quirk he's always wanted, the quirk he's always watched with admiration, and the quirk he knows is probably better than his own. Seeing him use that would be absolutely freaking amazing, and I'd love for that to happen. But again, that would mean Bakugo would have to die, and I don't really want that to happen. It does, however, make a certain amount of sense, with what they were talking about next. So Deku, he's never cared about himself. He's always been protecting other people. He's always wanted to help others, and that's always bothered Bakugo. He's always wanted to keep him at arm's length. It's what made him bully him, and now he's trying to atone. Now he's trying to do better. So could he do exactly what Deku's doing? Could he do exactly what he's angry at Deku for doing? Sacrifice himself to protect Deku, to ensure he has the power he needs to stop Shigaraki, to stop All For One? Maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, then back to the fight with Shigaraki, and Deku's not doing all that well. He's already completely shattered the bones in his left arm using 100% attacks, which, he was told if he did that ever again, he'd probably lose the ability to use his arms. Yeah, you remember that, Deku? Kind of important. I mean, he justifies, One For All is a power passed on for the sole purpose of defeating All For One. He has to go down here. This has to be, I have to give everything I have right here, right now. No matter what happens to me, as he really smashes into Shigaraki. I mean, yeah, there's a fairly good chance he's going to lose his arms, or lose the ability to use his arms, or maybe lose some, precision in his arms, his fingers won't move, and he'll have to do all his crazy notebook writing with a pen in his mouth. I could definitely see that happening. I don't think Shigaraki's going down quite yet. I mean, Deku said that his healing is getting a little slower, so that's a good sign for him, but I've said this again and again, I don't think this is the end of the series. I really don't. There's still, the fourth user who's just mentioned here, but the fourth user, the sixth user, the second user, the third user, another 4 quirks Deku still needs to unlock and master. Giganto's still in his way. No idea what's happening with him, except a lot of people are being, murdered by him right now. And this leads me to think that either Deku's going to beat Shigaraki to the point where it's to run and hide, and then Shigaraki's like, I'll be back in 2-3 months, depending on how I do recovery. And when I do, I will destroy all of Japan, all of Hero Society. Mwah! Or Shigaraki's going to win the fight, and they're going to have to find some way, somehow, some method to escape Shigaraki, flee somewhere else where he won't find them, form resistance, get stronger, and then eventually be ready for the next big battle against the true League of Villains after they've conquered Japan, essentially. It just feels like there needs to be a whole nother training arc after this for them to get ready for the final fight. I'm just not sure how that's going to go. Let me think of all this down below. What do you think is the big mystery of the fourth user? Do you think he has a self-sacrificing quirk? Do you think he knew Bakugo after he time traveled? Do you think he has a time-traveling quirk? That'd be interesting. And is Shigaraki down for the count? Is he going to win? What's going to happen next? And how many people has Giganto killed up to this point? I think it's a fairly large number, but let me think all this down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to the next video, and until then, peace!